Good morning, and I'm going to tell you the story of when I got frostbite on the tip of my wiener racing my first ever fat bike race in Wisconsin. It was great.
Dude, fucking feels like it's falling off.
It is.
All right, so it's not clickbait. I got grade 1 frostbite on the tip, and it lasted for maybe about a month. It was kind of gnarly. Didn't think that was a thing. Didn't think that was even an option in fat bike racing or the snow. And so I'm going to give you a little bit of context, back you up a little bit before we jump into the race on why I had not even thought that that was something that could happen. So in January, Jeremiah and I flew out to Yellowstone to do our Impossible Route Fat Bike Edition. And we were with Jay Peterberry, and he gave us this whole breakdown at school, and we did 2 days in Yellowstone. That film was insane. We learned a lot about fat biking, and so since Fat Bike Worlds was so close, it was the next week. I was like, well, dude, I've already done the fat bike training. I'll just jump up to Wisconsin real quick and do this next week. The thing is that when we were doing the adventure ride with the Impossible Route, we had an outer shell. I was wearing snow pants, and our layer management was next level. Jay had taught us so much. So honestly, doing the 2 days through West Yellowstone, going up to 10,000 feet where we were in a full-on blizzard, with wind chill, it got down to negative 45. I actually had never really felt cold. My hands got a little cold, my fingertips got a little cold, but nothing else on my body was cold. So going into racing fat bikes, because we were just adventure riding, that's a little bit different. And here's the thing. When I ask people, what should I be worried about? What's the thing I need to look out for while doing fat bike riding? 0 people said your wiener can freeze. A lot of people talked about layer management and sweat and tire pressure and bike setup and gloves and masks. No one led with, well, none of that really matters because if your wiener freezes, you don't care about anything else. If you asked me, now that I have the experience, hey, what's something I should worry about if I get into fat biking? The number one thing on that list is your wiener. Funny enough, after this happened, so many people are like, oh yeah, your wiener froze? Happens to all of us. Cool, dude. Lead with that. That'd be the first thing on the list. What to worry about? Wiener. Let's start off this story. It was going all the way back of me just even traveling with a fat bike, because it was crazy. The hospitality from Chris and his family and his friends were so beyond anything I'd ever experienced. Wisconsin has some of the best hospitality ever. Maybe because you spend so much of the year freezing in snow that when you get to connect with people, you're so stoked on it. Being new to this sport, I didn't really understand all the technology and performance gains in fat bikes. And Chris's fat bike was probably lighter than my mountain bike. Definitely lighter than my mountain bike. I mean, the thing with carbon rims, it was so light, so fast. And I'm just got this tanker, that we had been using for an adventure ride. So there was some setup that we wanted to get dialed. And now we are not on a tank. So we've got carbon wheels, super fast tires. We've got a super light saddle, the whole deal. Okay, one tip to not die.
Tire pressure, tire pressure, tire pressure, tire pressure. Get an analog gauge, because digital ones freeze. And check your tire pressure. Tire pressure.
And there's this whole thing about tire pressure, and it's illegal to go too hard of a pressure because you'll rut out the track. And so we were riding on a perfectly groomed racetrack. And so I think you can't go more than 6 PSI. And there's some really weird things about racing fat bikes that I'm going to get into, but I was so clueless on any of this stuff. We got to do a little warm-up ride and feel out the course, and when we did that warm-up ride, it was actually decently warm.
It's not that fast right now.
It's so wild to compare that to our Impossible Route adventure, because we were going 3 to 4 miles an hour was like fast. It's so fun. It's so technical. I love when a race course allows for, like, I could make up a gap without pedaling.
Right.
You take a good line, dude, you could save 300 watts, like,
right.
You know, if you just flow it right.
That's right.
Because the thing is that you could overheat, you could get way too hot if you layer up, and then all that sweat ices, and then you could get like hypothermia so quickly. The layer management and sweat management is next level with this sport. And obviously I'm here to do well. I want to win this thing if possible. And so my choice was to go borderline like a skin suit. What had happened is that I just wore like my thermal bibs. Spoiler alert, there's no windbreak for that. And it's freezing, so your little tiny nub is just like right at the front of the wind. So all wind is just hitting the tip of your pecker. I guess there's underwear for this, and there's lots of things you can do. But I didn't know. I had no idea this was a possibility. So I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna be aero, I'm gonna be sleek, I'm gonna be fast, it's gonna be sick. There was maybe 150 people registered for this race, and it started really, really fast. The thing about fat biking is that the gaps are so misleading. What looks like a 2-second gap, they're right, I mean, you have like 2 bike lengths, really. That's actually like a breakaway. Because the difference between you doing 300 watts and 800 watts is only like 1 mile an hour difference. So it's very deceiving, because you're like, oh, well, there's a small gap, that's no big deal, I'll close that down. Until you try to close it down and you're like, oh, I can't close this down. The speeds are so slow that it took me a long time to understand how to close gaps, how to ride, how to maintain your speed and your momentum. Fat bike racing is fun. It is so fun because there's no real danger. Like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna fall into some snow? You know, crashing isn't I mean, you can crash, but I didn't feel like I was going to get road rash or get injured. So it was really fun to have that be off the table. So we're going, and I'm way at the front, and I'm hammering. And I'm just thinking, dude, I'm going to look behind me, and it's going to be shattered. Dude, I look behind me after half a lap of just uncorking it, and everyone is there. Like, it is all 150 people. So then I was like, oh, wow, okay, maybe drafting is a thing with this, because I thought that you could get away really easily, and, you know, that there's a lot of pinch points so that we would blow it up. Well, I didn't wait long enough. And so as soon as I thought, oh, we're in for like a pack finish, I started falling back through the group to get some draft. And immediately when I did that is when the group kind of started to split and splinter. You know, again, I don't really know how this is going to race. I don't know the guys we're racing. Everything was sort of a blur to me, to be honest. And so as soon as I kind of fell back through the pack, all of a sudden the moves started going. So then now we're chasing a move. It's so hard to explain because like the guy in front of you is creating a rut. And so with you, you want to be in his draft, but then your front end is like tracking on the rut. And so you're constantly, your front end's like shimmying and you're almost about to crash. And it's very difficult to stay right behind someone and get that draft. I was pushing so hard and right on the limit. We found ourselves in the lead group minus the breakaway. So I believe 3 guys got up the road and were gone. Chris, who hosted me, gone, just like crushing it. And I honestly didn't even know when they went away or how they went away. But I ended up finding myself actually in a really good position. Top 10 for sure. Potentially, I could even maybe podium this thing. The course was perfectly groomed, so fun. There's some really technical sections where you have to like maintain your momentum and, you know, have the gearing right, because that was another thing, is the gearing is so tall, or like it's you know, you spin up really fast that you could be in the wrong gear and either be not able to pedal, like you're just lugging it, or you're spinning too fast. So gear range, like what gear you're in, gaps that would open, that do you close them, do you not close them, because you could maybe give a huge effort, but all of a sudden, you know, on a downhill, everyone catches you. It was trial by fire for this first hour, and I was having the time of my life until I noticed my wiener. The race was about an hour and a half, and about 40 minutes in, I could feel that it was getting very, very cold. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. I've never felt the tip of my pecker being cold before. And let me try to explain something to you. You ever have your hands get so cold that they go numb and then it doesn't hurt anymore? But you know, as soon as you try to reheat your hands and bring that temperature up, that you're in for a world of pain. Well, that immediately was like, oh, I'm going down that path, but on my male member. And so the way it was, like I was trying to hunch over, I was trying to like suck my butt up because all the wind was just hitting that one spot. I couldn't have my wiener not in the air. And it was just rapidly getting colder and colder and colder. And then it got to a point where it was numb. And then I was thinking, okay, I should probably stop, because we have another 40 minutes of racing, and if it's already numb, what is going to happen at the end? But I'm sitting top 10 out of 150. So, you know, let's just move forward. Now, I had put a hand warmer on both ends of my GoPro. It did not work. My GoPro died very shortly, which was really frustrating. I had the like ice batteries. I put warmers around it. I tried the best I could. It's just with it being cold, it was sub 0 degrees. It was below freezing. So it's a bit frustrating because I don't have the footage of the finish. About a lap, like right before last lap, it died. I was trying to turn it on anyways. But we ended up catching someone where we were racing for 3rd through 10th. And I had actually been settling in and feeling really good. And I was like, yeah, dude, I think I could go for a flyer. But I was so worried about how the race was going to play out. Like, I have this one card to play, and there's a sharp turn before an uphill climb. And so then I was thinking, you know, I'm going to try to send it on a little climb and get a gap. I did that. I played my cards. I tried to go early, about half a lap before, and I just could not get a gap at all. And I was just on it as hard as I could go. But right before the last turn, everyone swarmed me, came around. And then I had not had any issues with bike handling until the very last turn. Like, of course, I like lost the front end. I unclipped, totally botched the finish. But I ended up getting 9th, which is crazy that I got 9th out of 150 on my first ever fat bike race. So that's cool. But I really feel like I could have done better. I think I left a lot out there. Regardless, so much fun. I come through the finish. I have so much snotsicles everywhere. And I get done and I'm like, okay, I'm pretty cold. My hands are really cold. I'm not pleasant. And I got to figure out this wiener situation because I can't feel it at all.
Dude.
I know, it's the worst part. I got underwear that have like a windbreak in them.
Do you want my hot warmer to stick around it?
And a hot water bottle. You need anything from the shop?
You only can know this pain if it's happened to you. But if you can empathize or sympathize if you've ever had your hands be so cold, like if you're out playing in the snow and then you try to warm them up, that pain of them rewarming and coming back up and the blood flowing, I mean, you can't get away from it, right? It's so much pain. And so then I'm thinking, well, I wonder if that's what's going to happen. And within about 3 minutes, all of a sudden, the blood started to return to Mr. Willie. You boys are a little bit famous in these parts, so like everyone's looking at me. Everyone's like, well, I wonder what VC's doing. Like, so everyone's kind of looking at me, and I am 10 out of 10 pain. And then people are like, you okay? It looks like you're really hurting. I'm like, yeah, I'm hurt. They're like, oh, do you need gloves? Do you need a blanket? No, I got another issue. But I had not heard anyone talk about this, so I didn't want to say it because I'm like, well, I don't know how rare this is. And I don't want to just be walking. There's lots of women, by the way. So I don't want to be like, hey, everyone, my wiener's falling off. So I am starting to writhe in pain. Like I don't know what to do. I need to get away from this pain. So I'm just moving here and there and I'm like up and down. But not obviously I can't get away from Mr. Willie. He's attached to me. I'm kind of trying to keep this on the DL and people are like, dude, I've never seen someone have this much pain before. Which there were people in the ambulance. Okay. So people are going like from the race straight to the ambulance. So, you know, I wasn't the only one. It wasn't like I was just some weakling. A lot of people had some freezing issues. So then people all around me kind of like trying to figure it out, like asking me like, hey, what's wrong? Like, what do you need? And then finally I was like, my wiener is really cold. Like, it's really hurting.
Oh, Corey, like rough.
My penis hurts so bad.
That's what Connor always says.
I mean, I've never felt this kind of pain.
Oh, I know how you're feeling.
And then one guy was like, oh yeah, that happens to everyone. Bruh, could have told me that. What do you mean? He was like, yeah, dude. Happens to all of us. I remember the first time my wiener froze. It sucked. You're in for a lot of hurt.
It won't stop hurting. It just hurts more and more and more.
Well, the blood's gonna start flowing in there.
Yeah, once the blood comes back, it's good.
Dude, fucking feels like it's falling off.
The pain had gotten so bad that I was right on the verge of going, like, I need to go to the ambulance. But how do you go to the paramedics and just pull out your wiener and be like, fix this? But it started to subside, and that was really good news. I was like, okay, the pain isn't 10 out of 10 anymore. It's 8 out of 10, which if you're at 10 out of 10, 8 out of 10 is improvement. Still painful.
But dude, I am telling you, the pain that I felt in my dick, I would not wish that on my worst enemy. I felt like I was gonna puke. I felt like I was gonna pass out. That was extreme.
And I do have another race tomorrow, the ice crit. And so, you know, I'm kind of like, dude, is this normal? And so many people were like, yes, that's normal. And I guess it's a big thing for skiers, like cross-country skiers, because they're all aero and stuff. And so then it's just a matter of wind chill, because that part of your body doesn't really, you know, I'm not like pumping blood there during a race, right? And so it's just all about wind chill, and they have special boxers, and they even have a willy warmer. There's a lot of technology that can fix this problem, but I didn't even know that was a problem to have, so I wasn't prepared for it. But now, like I've said, if you ask me, hey, fat biking, what's that all about? I'll say, well, your wiener can freeze, so fix that first. it's so hard to explain how much fun it is because how slow it is. The reaction time is so slow. Like in crit racing, if you hesitate a millisecond, that could be the race. This is sort of, everything's in slow motion, everything's in molasses. You know, a guy next to you is full 1,000-watt sprint, and he's basically right next to you. He just barely getting, you know? And so it's also, regardless of frostbite, very safe, because what are you going to do? You're going to crash into a powder? And so there's like no road rash, you know, there's really no, there's no jumps or anything like that. So it was really, to me, all the safety side of things is zero. And then all of the stress and anxiety about reaction time is a zero. So it's just, to me, the most pure fun version of racing, minus the cold, right? That's what makes it so terrible, is how cold it is. But you honestly don't really even think about it. Like right before and right after is miserable, but during, it's very rare, if you prepared right, that you'll even feel pain or feel the cold in the heat of the action. The pain and issues lasted, like I said, for about a month. It was really touch and go. There was some permanent numbness for a while. Everything's back to working order, but it was, and why I say it's frostbite, is like a grade 1 frostbite of where it's just, it got a little, gets gross, but it got a little discolored, and but nothing crazy, not black, but it was really on my mind quite a bit for about a month. I want to say a huge thank you to everyone involved with this event. It was one of the most fun events I've ever been to. So unique. The environment was so amazing. Dude, it's -10, -15, and there's people out there cheering. I had someone make a sign with you know, my logo on it. People in Wisconsin rip. Chris rips. Now, this is a part of the December daily vlogs. I wanted to keep this its own video, though. I didn't want to incorporate the daily stuff into this because I feel like this is a good enough story just to stand on its own. But most of the future episodes are all going to involve, you know, me training and me trying to track my calories. Since I got back from 24-hour Worlds, I kind of let myself go a little bit. I got super, super lean, maybe too lean, peak fitness, and I've just sort of fallen off the cliff a little bit. So this month is going to be about telling you old stories from the year, do some new topics, do some cool things, new adventures. We've got a lot of vlogs coming up. Tomorrow, we're going to jump into the ice crit. That was so much fun. And then we've got a lot of other things coming down the road. So thank you guys so much. BC. Yeah.